So this is my little gardening box. I keep all of my seeds and a couple of plant tags in here. So these are just seeds from over the years that I've kept, whether I've collected them in my own garden or bought them. I don't like the idea of using or throwing away seeds. Some people will say, absolutely not, you should not use seed from last year. Honestly, I don't mind trying again. I have had success growing seed that I bought last year or even 2 years ago, germinating and doing a perfectly fine job. So I do hold on to some of them. I do throw them away after a little while, but if it's a couple of years old, I just hold on to the packets if I haven't used them all. So this year in particular, I'm going to try growing Sunrise Cosmos. So this is more of an annual, but I do like Cosmos. It's one of my favorite colors. I got this last year at a seed swap my friend and I went to last year. I did not get to sow it, so I'm going to try it this year. It's a beautiful yellowy orangey color. It's gorgeous. Cosmos is one of my favorite flowers to have in the garden. Pollinators also love it. Then I have the ones I got from the Native Plant Society. So the wild bergamot I had last year. I tried to use it. It didn't really work. The Monarda fistulosa. It didn't germinate for me as well. So I'll give it another go this year and see. I tried to direct sow it last year. This year I'm going to try to grow it in the seed tray. I also have the Liatris, the blazing meadow star, or the meadow blazing star. I'll try this again. This one I just got. And then also the giant hyssop. I will be sowing all three of these. They're all perennials in my zone. And then the sweet pea, I wasn't able to get a new packet at the store, but I will try sowing the old seed that I had from last year and see how that does. That's why I have the toilet paper tubes. We'll try them in the toilet paper tubes again this year. And then as far as veg goes, I'm trying cucumbers. Last year I did not get a good cucumber harvest. I didn't get any cucumber plants, period. The cucumbers I tried were the lemon cucumber. They just looked like fun, and they're just, they have a slight lemony flavor to them, but they're actually quite mild, and look at them, they just look so cute. And then these tasty emperor cucumbers, they're a Japanese style cucumber, and they're supposed to have a really nice taste as well. So last year I did plant cucumbers, but we had a late frost and that wiped out my plants, and then I tried to re-sow. I got some decent little seedlings, and then the magpies came and took them all out. So I don't mind the magpies. I really like them. They're playful and they're fun. That just meant we had no cucumbers last year. And then also I'm going to try to reuse some of the seed for the Gold Crush Currant tomato. It's just a little cherry tomato variety, and the color is like a nice mottled orangey, red, yellow. They look like little flames, which is a lot of fun. I'm growing my veg in planter pots this year on my deck because it's sunnier on my deck. So I think I'll have success and luck growing these in pots on my deck. They don't get too big, and we really don't need many plants. Something I've done in the past is I've sown too many. So you end up with like 15 tomato plants. It feels good when they're growing because you do feel like you've been successful and like you've done something fantastic, and you have, you know, you're nurturing life. But then you end up with 20 tomato plants and you're like, oh, we're not going to eat all these tomatoes. So this year I'm really focused on growing only what I know we're going to eat and as much as I know we're going to eat. I'm not really using anything fancy to do this. This is a seed tray. I think I got, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it has 50 cells in it. These little things are called cells, depending on, I guess, how you say it. But that means that I can plant 50 seedlings, or sometimes I can put 2 per and then thin them out depending on which one looks like the strongest seedling. But it's really not that expensive. I think I got the tray. So there is the little seed tray with the cells, and then there's the tray that goes underneath so that when I want to water it, I can water it from underneath instead of having to water them from on top, which can sometimes be a little difficult for really young, sensitive seedlings. Watering it from underneath means the water is kind of coming up through these little holes in the bottom here. And so then the water is being sucked upwards in the soil and not disturbing the top of the soil. That is what I'm going to do when I'm watering the seedlings today. I'm going to put water in the tray and then let the water suck upward instead of putting it on top and disturbing the seeds that way. And just to put it in here, like I'm just using my hands in this gigantic soup spoon from my kitchen. It's not really anything expensive where you don't have to go and buy super expensive stuff. And you don't even need to buy a seed tray. I bought a seed tray to make my life easier because I do have a little polyurethane greenhouse that I use in the house because it's very cold right now where I am. So I need to keep them in the house before I can put them out later in May. So it's just easier for me to keep them in that little teeny tiny greenhouse rather than transporting like a bunch of different pots and moving everything around. This is just much more convenient. And I also have a heat mat that will go underneath these once I'm done sowing them today. And the heat mat is pretty much the same size as this. So again, that just makes my life a little bit easier. As far as the soil I'm using, this really isn't anything special. It actually was the only seed starter mix that I could find at the greenhouse I went to at the garden center. It's not my preference. Last year I was playing around with trying to use peat-free compost. Peat moss is something that's used widely in a lot of gardening mixes, whether it's compost for your garden or amendments for your garden beds. It's also used in seed starter mix, and it's historically used because it holds on to moisture really, really well, and it also isn't too heavy. But peat bogs are really important ecosystems for our world. Peat bogs are an important carbon sink, and they're also a really important habitat for a lot of rare species of animals and insects and birds and plants. And so when we dredge up peat bogs, we're releasing a bunch of carbon back into the atmosphere. And we're also making it impossible for those ecosystems to sustain life in the way that they should be, and also to trap carbon in the ways that we need them to. And so dredging up peat bogs just so we can garden doesn't seem right. At least to me, it doesn't seem right. So I'm constantly on the hunt where I live for a peat-free mix. I have not been able to find one yet. Over in the UK, they're doing really, really, really good work. Phasing out peat in their gardening products. They have said, nope, not anymore. We're not going to allow peat to be dug up just for gardening's sake. So we're not quite there yet here where I live in North America. I generally find these ones that are labeled organic or they're made in your local area. This one is made at a farm in the province next door to my province where I live here in Canada. And so it has come a shorter distance from a factory, you know, elsewhere in the world. And so they tend to be a little bit better. The quality tends to be a little bit better, I find, than those like super, super mass produced, very big name products. So I am going to, these just fit perfectly. Just like that. So I'm just going to put these in here. So again, I'm using these for the sweet pea because I think where I went wrong was that I was trying to grow the sweet pea in something this depth, right? So this is not very tall. I would say this is about 2, maybe 2.5 inches tall, this seed cell. And for the sweet pea, apparently you need a much longer root run for them to grow their roots in, because in that plant family, they do like to have quite a bit of way to grow their roots in. So I'm going to try sowing them in this. I got to this recommendation from someone I know. So we'll try them in this here. So I have 9 here in total. And I'll fill them up with soil. Alrighty, now time to sow. Okay, I am going to start with the perennials. We'll start with the sweet pea because these ones are closest to me. So just pouring them out. I'm gonna sow 2 per, okay? So just put it on top and push it in just slightly. You want to make sure there's good contact between the seedling and the soil. So because I have 9 things here, that's going to give me 18 little seedlings. That doesn't have enough soil in there. So then I am just going to very, very lightly, I mean like very lightly, and I'm not even like putting it on very much. I'm just going to take a little bit like that and just a very light sprinkle, because I don't want them to be like super, super covered. I just want them covered enough so that they're not exposed. But you know, inside, I guess like we don't have any birds living in here who are going to come take them out or eat them, but still just cover them enough so that they're not exposed. Yeah, there we go. I'm not tamping them down. I'm just settling the soil on top so that it's relatively even. Okay, so now I can give them a drink, and like I was saying before, I will give them a drink from underneath. So I'll put the water in this second tray here, but I also have this warming mat. So I got this mat at one of the local garden supply places. You can get them at a lot of different places. I'm sure you can order them online, but this mat just keeps the seedlings warm from the bottom, and that helps them germinate a little better. Most seeds need a little bit of warmth and heat to help them germinate. So I'm going to put them on this mat. I'll just plug it in. And because I don't want to ruin my countertops, I have this, what's it called? Tea towel. It's just like an old tea towel that I'm going to put down on the countertop first. Then I'm going to put the mat on top, and then my seedlings on top. Okay. So I'm not going to cover them this year. I have covered them in years past. Last year in particular, I had a really hard time with mold forming and the seeds rotting. And I think it's because I had the heat from underneath and also a lid on top. I was trapping too much moisture and too much heat in. And so the soil was staying too wet and too soggy. And also because this year I'm using these cardboard containers, I really don't want for them to get moldy and soggy. So I'm not going to put a cover on them. I think they'll have enough heat in my home, and then also with the mat underneath, the heating mat underneath. So I am just going to pour the water in here. I'm not really filling it all the way. I'm just going to keep monitoring it. Right now, that's enough water to fill it up maybe halfway. And then I just put this back in. And if it needs some more, I'll check it. And I will be able to see the soil, because right now the soil has dried out in the time that I've put everything in and cleaned up and everything. So I will be able to see the soil at the top turning dark again, and that will let me know that the moisture has reached all the way to the top where the seedlings are. So I'm really hopeful to get a good crop this year. Growing my own perennials is really important to me, so we'll see if I am successful. Hopefully you're successful in your seed sowing too. Okay, we'll see you next week.